الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم وبعد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. So this is a video about the fatwa of Sheikh Ibn Baz rahimahullah ta'ala when it comes to women doing public dawah or giving dawah to others. And I just want to be more specific in this video. So in this video, inshallah ta'ala, this is kind of a, well, they call nowadays in the internet language or lingo, this is a reaction to video to a video made by a sister that calls herself ITACHI with another sister, and I believe they even had other videos with other sisters who do da'wah online. So last time we made a video, and to be honest with you, the reason why I made that video or part of it was because of this video of this sister known as ITACHI, but I did not want to mention any names last time. However, seeing how things are evolving on the internet and on social media, it looks like sometimes we have no choice really but to be more specific and to mention specific people to clarify things even further, insha'Allah ta'ala, because it's very important for the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to be clear. Once the deen is clear, whoever wants to follow the wrong path, that's up to them. It's not our responsibility. I'm not going to pay for someone else's mistake on the Day of Judgment, and no one is going to pay for my own mistakes. However, it's very important, especially for our sisters, insha'Allah ta'ala, to know the truth about the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because what's kind of problematic here is that these sisters, you know, we have the problem of the woke hijabis, as we call them, who usually make this blend between woke radical feminism and what they want to portray as being proper Islam and the Sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the message of the Quran. They make a blend. It's really a mess, something that they just made up, and they start calling our Muslim sisters to it, unfortunately. But now we have another problem, which is in a sense obviously much lower in terms of much lesser in terms of danger, and it's much less problematic in terms of harm. However, because these sisters, they present themselves as following the manhaj of the Salaf and the Salafi Aqidah, and then they follow Quran and Sunnah, and then they sound that they are more conservative, and because also they look like people who have, inshallah ta'ala, good intentions. This is why I'd rather not again call names, whatever. Inshallah ta'ala, I hope that inshallah they will accept the advice and that they will follow the path of the haqq, of the truth. But because again, they seem to be sisters who have good intentions here, so the problem is that they will be targeting and they will be misleading a certain demographic of our Muslim sisters who don't have a lot of ilm, but at the same time who have a good, pure, sound fitrah, that they're not into the whole woke hijabi thing, right? But they could be influenced by this new wave, this new trend of sisters like ITACHI and others. So now I want to talk about something specific. So this sister ITACHI has brought a fatwa of Sheikh Ibn Baz alayhi rahmatullahi ta'ala that she only read in English. So I had to do my own research to be able to find it in Arabic. So I read the fatwa in Arabic and what the Sheikh was saying. So now, she is trying to make it sound, maybe she misunderstood or maybe she's doing it on purpose. Allah ta'ala alam. Inshallah ta'ala, let's assume the best. But she's kind of making it sound like Sheikh Ibn Baz rahimahullah ta'ala would be 100% okay with whatever she's doing, the way that she's doing da'wah online. And like I have already mentioned it in details in my other video, yes, it is right. And it is even required for our Muslim sisters who have enough knowledge and who have, you know, the tools for it, that they have to be making da'wah. And I covered this extensively. Please go and check the other video. Very important. So I don't want to cover whatever I have covered before. I just want to make a ta'qib here, clarification. So Sheikh Ibn Baz rahimahullah ta'ala, there's no doubt that if Sheikh Ibn Baz rahimahullah ta'ala saw what you sister are doing and the other sisters with you, so I had to do some research on X and so on to see what's this new trend. There's no doubt that Sheikh Ibn Baz rahimahullah ta'ala would say that you are wrong. What you are doing is wrong, and it will be up to you to prove to the Shaykh really that in your specific situation, whatever you have chosen to do is necessary, and you have, you know, your fiqh of rukhsa and there are exceptions for your case, whatever, and then maybe the sheikh will be convinced or maybe not. However, let's again comment on the fatwa of the sheikh here, okay? And by the way, I'm not saying that what Sheikh Ibn Baz rahimahullah ta'ala says or what he believes on these matters that it is right or it is wrong. I'm just doing here what we call ilzam. So you have picked Sheikh Ibn Baz rahimahullah. I did not pick him. You picked him as a reference concerning Muslim sisters doing da'wah on the internet to kind of prove your point and to justify the way you are doing da'wah online. Because you have picked Sheikh Ibn Baz rahimahullah ta'ala, I have no choice but to go in that way. We have to go with Sheikh Ibn Baz all the way to the end. You see, we don't have in Islam, we don't have to follow one sheikh. We don't have to believe one sheikh in everything he says. We don't have this idea that a sheikh, Ibn Baz rahimahullah ta'ala, or any other sheikh is right on everything. However, when it comes to a specific matter, a specific waqi'ah, if you decide to follow the fiqh or the opinion of a sheikh on it, follow the whole opinion, okay? If it's talking about something specific, well, don't do a misrepresentation of his fatwa. So let me give you an example before answering here, inshallah ta'ala, to show you how sometimes we could be playing with a sheikh's fatwa. Imagine if there's a alim, any mufti, someone, person of knowledge that issues a fatwa, you know, someone asks him and says, Sheikh, I live in some far village in the Muslim world. Let me give the example of some remote village in the Muslim world. And someone came in our village and opened a bar. Okay, they started selling alcohol and gambling and everything. Obviously, this is a remote village in the Muslim world. Everyone is conservative, but someone has decided to bring this very haram thing into the town. And some of the youth are beginning to be influenced by it. They go to that bar, they take drugs, they take stuff like that. So, Sheikh, if someone says that, is it halal for them to enter that bar with the opinion of telling the guy to close down? Okay? To close down. Amr bil ma'ruf wa nahy anil munkar. Now, he's not saying, is it okay for me to tell him to close down, to do Amr bil ma'ruf wa nahy anil munkar? No, he's asking about something specific. The problem here is that it's the whole thing about someone religious and someone pious entering a bar. This is what would make a lot of people uncomfortable. So obviously the sheikh is going to tell him, yes, of course you could do it if it's for Amr bil Ma'ruf wa Nahy Anil Munkar. So the scene here that the sheikh is imagining is that this is someone with strong religious background, strong iman. They are surrounded by Muslims who are conservative, and they say enough is enough. What's this khubth that's in front of us? We're going to go inside, tell the guy, shut it down. And he's going to work. Really, if this happened, if this scenario happened in a remote Muslim village somewhere, a remote village, not urban area, it's going to work. So the sheikh is going to say, yes, you can do it and you must do it. And most probably they will be able to do it and the bar will close down no matter what. Now imagine if I or anyone else who lives in the West says, oh, you know what, sheikh says it's okay to go to a bar to give dawah. So I'm going to go downtown and start entering bars, you know, looking for at least Muslims maybe, and I start looking for Muslim youth. I'm going to do dawah to them inside the bars here in the West. Whoa, that's nothing to do with the fatwa of the sheikh. The sheikh is talking about a situation. He's not talking about someone who's going to go to blend with the people. He's talking about the sheikh about in and out in something in which we have qudra, we have power, we have the majority. We're going to go inside, we will flood it. We are the people here because we live in a remote Muslim village. I cannot take that fatwa and apply it to a context which is completely different. That there's no way the sheikh would agree on that. Okay? So let me tell you here. So Sheikh Ibn Baz rahimahullah ta'ala, the sister herself, ITACHI, she read that. He said that for a Muslim woman to be doing da'wah to the public, let's just call it that way, she must be properly covered and preserve her iffah and everything. And he emphasized a lot on it. A lot. She read the fatwa. You can go back to her video. She read the fatwa in English. So now I'm just going to go to the next point. What is a woman covering herself properly according to Sheikh Ibn Baz rahimahullah? That's what you don't find in that fatwa, because the alim, a scholar, is not going to always to, you know, explain his whole way of life, his whole, basically the everything that he knows about the deen in every single fatwa, that you have to refer to what also Shaykh ibn Baz rahimahullah ta'ala says about a woman covering herself properly, what that implies exactly. What does that imply? So listen here, we have a fatwa number 6328 on the website of Shaykh ibn Baz rahimahullah ta'ala. Inshallah, if I don't forget, I'm going to put it in the comments. Shaykh ibn Baz rahimahullah ta'ala, he's asked about what is the meaning of niqab and khimar and hijab. What is that exactly? معنى النقاب والخمار والحجاب. So Shaykh ibn Baz is going to tell you what is it exactly that a woman should be covering, to be considered covered according to him. I didn't say he's right, I didn't say he's wrong. You chose Shaykh ibn Baz rahimahullah ta'ala as a reference. He says كله معناه واحد الحجاب يكون بالخمار. So he says hijab. What is hijab? By the way, a lot of people nowadays, most people, they think hijab is what you put on your head. That's not the meaning of hijab. None of the Islamic scholars in history and no alim of the lugha of the Arabic language ever said that hijab is what you put on your head. What you put on your head, that scarf, the headscarf, is called khimarun. That's khimar, and that's only one component of hijab. So he says الحجاب يكون بالخمار ويكون بالنقاب ويكون بالجلباب. So this is a whole set here. Okay, hijab comes with a whole set. You have khimar to cover the head, you have jilbab, what they call nowadays aba'a, to cover the body, and according to the opinion of Shaykh ibn Baz rahimahullah ta'ala, also hijab includes the niqab, that they call nowadays in the media the face covering, the niqab. And we're not done. أو يكون بغير, or hijab, meaning again hijab, which is the hijab is basically a comprehensive word that includes how a Muslim woman should be dressed. That's it. Not just that's completely wrong for someone to think that the hijab is what you put on your head. That doesn't exist in Islam or in the Arabic language. That's media language nowadays, or popular culture. أو يكون بغير. So how can hijab be, so what's the other form of hijab? So there could be hijab with no jilbab, with no niqab, with no khimar. What is it exactly? So a woman could have no veil on her head, no face covering, no jilbab actually, and she could be also in a state of hijab. He says أو يكون من وراء الباب أو في خيمة وهو في خيمة أو من خارج الخيمة. So he says here, gives other examples. If a woman is talking behind the door, she's at her house, okay, and someone knocks and she's behind the door, nobody can see her, says, yes, assalamu alaikum, she's talking to another man, to another stranger. Could be someone delivering something, could be the neighbor, okay. She's talking to someone, but she's talking min wara'i hijab. She's not wearing anything specific for the outside. She's just wearing her normal home clothes, but she is in a state of hijab. Why? Because وَبَيْنَهُمَا hijab, like in Surah Al-A'raf. Hijab meaning there's a separator between herself and the man who is not a mahram. Or also he says she could be in a tent, like back in the days they used to travel in the desert and everything, so a woman would be in a tent sometimes and she's talking to someone who's not a mahram. Even if she's not covering her head, she is in a state of hijab. So I hope inshallah ta'ala that would be useful for other Muslimat inshallah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Al-maqsood, he says, Shaykh ibn Baz, what is the idea of hijab? According to him, سترها نفسها عن الأجنبي ولو بالخمار الذي تلقيه على رأسها ووجهها أو بالجلباب الذي تلقيه على وجهها ورأسها أو بالنقاب الذي لا تبدو منه إلا. So I'm going to explain inshallah ta'ala. He says here that according to him, the hijab is whatever form it takes. Even when it comes to clothes, it could be a one piece, right? A khimar, basically what she covers, but if she puts a khimar in a way that she's going to cover her head, and he says also the face. For Shaykh ibn Baz rahimahullah ta'ala, this is a very known thing, that Shaykh ibn Baz rahimahullah ta'ala, he believes that face covering is an obligation, it's wajib, and it's part of hijabul muslimah, of the way that the muslimah should be covered. And then he says, أو بالنقاب. What is niqab now? For Shaykh ibn Baz rahimahullah ta'ala, what's the definition of niqab? الذي لا تبدو منه إلا العين أو العينان والبقية مستورة الوجه كله مستور ما عدا العين حتى تنظر أو العينين حتى تنظر. He says, Shaykh ibn Baz rahimahullah ta'ala, and niqab is to cover the whole face in a way that only one eye or two eyes would be allowed to be uncovered. This is what he believes. Don't tell me why, how come other scholars don't agree. I didn't say that all ulama agree on this. I'm picking here Sheikh Ibn Baz rahimahullah ta'ala because she picked this sister Itachi, picked Sheikh Ibn Baz. So Sheikh Ibn Baz rahimahullah ta'ala believes that yes, women can be doing da'wah, but they have to be covering their face as well if they are talking to non-mahram men, to the extent that only 1 or 2 eyes are showing. And you sisters are not covering like that. You are wearing some sort of, a mask. I don't know if it's like, it looks like a ninja mask. This is like some weird internet thing. Right? That's not a niqab according to Sheikh Ibn Baz rahimahullah ta'ala, and according to the school of Sheikh Ibn Baz rahimahullah ta'ala, meaning all the ulama that believe that the face covering is an obligation, they will say that the way you are covered is not a face covering, because I don't want to encourage other brothers to go and look at you, but it's the internet. I mean, people already know the situation. It's nothing new. So the way you sisters are covered is not considered the niqab, and is not considered properly covered according to Sheikh Ibn Baz rahimahullah ta'ala and other ulama of the same school as himself, from different madhahib, by the way. It's not just like in Saudi or something. So please don't mix things up. Also, let me give you another fatwa of Sheikh Ibn Baz rahimahullah ta'ala that also illustrates how you were wrong in presenting the fatwa of Sheikh Ibn Baz rahimahullah ta'ala. So this is Sa'il, fatwa number 6093 from the website of Sheikh Ibn Baz directly rahimahullah ta'ala. He says, أخونا يقول هل يجوز للمرأة أن تخطب في جمع من الناس فيه رجال ونساء وبواسطة مكبرات الصوت باسم الدين وتصوير تلك الندوة كما يسمونها بأفلام الفيديو ويتم توزيعها داخل وخارج البلد وكل ذلك باسم الدين. So he says here, someone from Sudan asking the Sheikh Ibn Baz rahimahullah ta'ala, this fatwa is probably either from the 90s or from the 80s. Okay, there's no internet, no social media, no one ever heard about that. At that time, this person here is saying, I just read the fatwa in Arabic, okay? So anyone who understands Arabic is gonna, I just read the question in Arabic to make sure that anyone who understands Arabic knows that I'm not playing with the words here. My translation is just saying exactly what was said. Is it okay for a woman to give a lecture to a gathering of people that has men and women? She will give a lecture about the deen, about the religion of Allah Azza wa Jal. This, of course, Sheikh is not going to tell you here, but this is assuming this person is qualified to teach the deen. The Sheikh is not going to say it every single time in his answer. This is something so that's another question, sisters. What are you qualified to talk about and what are you qualified not to talk about? You better know your limits if you are saying that you are doing da'wah on the internet. Anyway, he says, is it okay for a woman to be giving da'wah, lecture to a gathering of men and women using a speaker, so loudspeaker, speaker, basically she'll be talking on a microphone and people will be listening to her. He says, وَالتَّصْوِيرُ ذَلِكَ النَّدْوَةِ. And also, is it okay to film this sister, this Muslim woman who is given a lecture? Is it okay to film her in video and then to distribute the video inside the country, in Sudan and in other countries, under the disguise or under the name of the deen, that we are doing da'wah to Allah Azza wa Jal? Is that okay? This is a fatwa. So again, at that time, no internet, even TV channels, there was no space for random people to go and spread the deen. So the way they used to do it is film a sheikh in video, and even that was a privilege. Very few sheikhs had the privilege of having the equipment or someone to film them. And then you'll be like a VHS, you'd be the big tape like this, make copies of it. And there was no DVDs, even DVDs that nowadays are considered to be old, they didn't exist at that time. So Sheikh Ibn Baz rahimahullah ta'ala says, his answer, هذه الخطبة لا حرج فيها كون المرأة تخطب الناس وتذكر الناس وإن كان فيهم رجال لا مانع من ذلك بالصوت العادي لا بالخضوع ولا بصوت آخر منكر. He says, number one, it's completely okay for a woman to be giving a lecture to other Muslimin and Muslimat. He says, وإن كان, even in the presence of men, if she's talking about the deen, again, she has maybe ilm, and usually most of the time these are older ladies, okay, older ladies who are very mature, who have a lot of knowledge about the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but let's not cover even that point. Let's assume she's young. He says here, بِالصَّوْتِ الْعَادِي, with a normal voice, لَا بِالْخُضُوع, Now he's already adding here another condition, another restriction that you sisters, if you say that you're following Sheikh Ibn Baz, you're not following it. Al-khudu' bil-qawl, meaning like Allah Azza wa Jalla says, فَلَا تَخْضَعْنَ بِالْقَوْلِ فَيَطْمَعَ الَّذِي فِي قَلْبِهِ مَرَض. You know, khudu' bil-qawl, how can I, sorry, I'm going to use something funny, but it's just to try to make it right. Khudu' bil-qawl is what could be translated nowadays as a cute voice, okay? I know they usually say beautifying the voice, whatever, it doesn't, some people still don't understand what it is. So if a woman is talking with like a cute voice, right, the way she would be talking to her children, to her father, to her brother at home, to her husband, that's what we call al-khudu' bil-qawl. You sisters are, yes, you are doing dawah online, maybe some of you are doing dawah online. I've seen some, like I said in the other thing, I've seen that debate between the sister and other women. She was defending Islam, jazakallah khair. However, you're not just doing dawah. You're chit-chatting, laughing, right? Like saying jokes to each other, not even to like non-Muslims to call them to Islam, to each other. Even in that video in which you spoke about the fatwa of Sheikh Ibn Baz rahimahullah ta'ala, right? You're taking it very lightly here. You are publicly laughing with each other. It's like, again, a gathering around tea between two Muslimat, but then you're doing it online. There were tons of men are looking at you. I'm not saying this. I'm telling you that it doesn't work according to the Shaykh that you have picked as a reference. Sheikh Ibn Baz rahimahullah ta'ala says don't do khudu' bil qawl. And Sheikh Ibn Baz rahimahullah ta'ala is very known to be very strict on this matter, on khudu' bil qawl, and the whole school that he follows and those who follow him, they are very, very strict on it, right? So he says here, فإذا كانت الخطبة قولا معروفا, if the khutbah, the lecture that she is giving, number one, is something beneficial, معروف, something reasonable, something that's, you know, you are there for a purpose, there's a purpose, you are teaching people Islam and everything. ليس فيه شيء مما يعتبر في خضوعا في القول, that there is no khudu' في القول in it whatsoever. Again, he's emphasizing on the same point for a second time. وَالْمَقْصُودَ النَّصِيحَةِ, and that if your purpose is only to give nasiha to Muslimin, because you see the problem here is that there's a very fine line nowadays between who is the da'iyah who's doing da'wah and who is the influencer. Most of these people online, men and women alike, boys and girls alike, who are doing da'wah, the so-called da'wah, they are doing da'wah and at the same time they are influencers, meaning that they have to, you know, they have to basically please the algorithm, to have like a presence every day, to talk about random things, to go beyond the da'wah itself, which is not necessarily always wrong, but we're talking here about sisters doing da'wah, sisters being influencers online. This is what we are talking about. And then he says here, he mentions the ayat that I already mentioned in my other lecture. I'm not going to repeat them. فإذا خطبت وذكرت ودعت إلى الله فلا بأس بذلك بشرط الصيانة. So we have already mentioned this. ومع الحجاب, he says hijab is required. Like we said before, hijab means either, by the way, a lot of ulama, I'm sure Sheikh Ibn Baz rahimahullah ta'ala, in like himself, he would tell you to do this behind a separator, because this is the school that he belonged to. But say that there's no separator, well, the least he will tell you is that niqab, and to cover one or two eyes, okay? To only uncover one or two eyes. This would be the fiqh of Shaykh Ibn Baz rahimahullah ta'ala. And then he goes, listen to this. أَمَّا التَّصْوِيرِ. Now when it comes to filming, because also the question said, Sheikh, can we film this Sheikha as she's giving this lecture and distribute her videos? So this is the closest thing to what? To the videos nowadays. Knowing that, by the way, I just remembered فارق مؤثر, very important difference here. If the Sheikh was to say that it's okay, you will be surprised by his answer now. But if the Sheikh said it's okay, go and check. For those of you who are very young, please try to find some VHS video and watch it online on YouTube. Even YouTube is gonna be too good for it, because it's gonna be in like the lowest resolution you will have it 360, okay, 360p, and that's already too sharp. By Allah, I'm telling you, when I was young, like we were the videos we were watching were actually worse than 360p, And I'm not even like at the age of Sheikh Ibn Baz rahimahullah, okay? At that time, go try to find a VHS to see. So nowadays, obviously HD, the cameras are so precise, are so high quality. They are detailing the face of whether it's someone who's a man or a woman, but in this case we're talking about women, obviously, because you know some sisters sometimes when we talk about these type of things they say, oh, so how come you men can talk on the internet? Well, already the thing here is that Allah Ta'ala didn't tell us to wear hijab. If it was up to us to wear hijab, Allah said in the Quran we have to wear hijab and you don't have to wear hijab, then we would say we have to wear hijab and you don't have to wear hijab. We're talking about the deen of Allah. We're not talking here about our preferences of what we have decided to follow. Okay? So he says, أما التصوير. Now, when it comes to filming, Sheikh Ibn Baz is not talking about 4K. He's not talking about 2K. He's not talking about filming with filters and AI, integrated algorithm nowadays in the cameras that make you look even nicer and more attractive and so on. He says, فهذا هو الذي ينكر. This is the part that I don't accept. He said, okay, Sheikh, I can give if she's covered with niqab, if only one or two eyes are showing, it's okay, she can teach men. But he says, filming, no. I don't agree with this. I don't accept this. فهذا الذي ينكر, it's a munkar, something which is wrong. فإنها لا تصور إلا إذا كانت تصويرها وهي مستورة متحجبة في وجهها وكل شيء هذا لا يضر تصويرها. He says except, look, he's making an exception here. If she's fully covered and then مستورة متحجبة في وجهها, that all her face is covered, he says كل شيء. He says if her whole body 100%, all her face is covered, then she can be filmed. However, he goes, obviously I'm not going to expand on this because this is outside of نقطة النقاش ونقطة البحث. He says still, أما جنس التصوير ينبغي أن لا يفعل في هذه المسائل. However, he says, I personally believe that, تصوير, filming, generally speaking, is haram. Nothing to do now with hijab, women or men. That's a completely different thing. Nothing to do with, akhlaq. We spoke about this when we made the other video. You can find it on the ONEQIBLA channel, inshallah ta'ala, about the issue of filming. So we had a video about AI in which we detailed this issue of filming, okay? But Sheikh Ibn Baz rahimahullah ta'ala, here he says that if you believe taswir, filming is halal, then you must be fully covered, and that's now. So now I just want to close with something because it's going to be salat right now, inshallah ta'ala, iqamah in 5 minutes. So I just want to add also one thing. After doing some research, I didn't even go further. I see that you sisters also are doing all these like weird thumbnails, right, on your videos, again, that are very detailed, right, that kind of beautify you even more. You sisters are young, you don't understand maybe what the impact of that. If you don't want to do it, if you want to do it, if you feel like doing it, please don't do this in the name of Sheikh Ibn Baz rahimahullah ta'ala told me to do so. You want to, like I said, if someone wants to follow the wrong path, it's none of my business. I'm not going to be paying for your actions in my grave, and you're not going to be paying for my actions in your grave. I'm just here to give nasiha, number one, but also to clarify. When people, they misrepresent what the ulama they say, we have to respond back to them and we have to expose this misrepresentation, hoping inshallah ta'ala that they will accept the truth and say that they were wrong, or at least that other Muslimat will not be misled by this. And like I said, finally, I already said it in my other video, but if you believe for any reason that your da'wah is so exceptional, that you are saving the world, that you need a very specific fatwa for your case, go ahead and ask Ahlul Ilm. If you have someone from the ulama, the true ulama, rasikhin, not a fatwa of Sheikh Ibn Baz you took online that you applied it on your own. If you have someone from Ahlul Ilm al-rasikhin, someone who's a true and tested and tried and tested scholar of Islam, who can listen to your story, to your situation, and give you a fatwa for you specifically, I cannot blame you for taking that fatwa. If it's someone from Ahlul Ilm, they will carry the burden later on, okay? But like I said, please, let's not play with the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. May Allah Azza wa Jal guide all of us. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.